Hello, in this video I will show you how to configure two Barix Exstreamer500 in the standard STL mode. On my desk here I have two Exstreamer500, both loaded with the default STL firmware and default settings. The first we will do now is find out the IP address that we can configure them. So the devices are configured for DHCP. That means they will try to find the DHCP server and try to get an IP address from it and announce it thereafter over connected speakers. If you have no connected speaker, then you can even use the Barix discovery tool I'm using here. When you click on the get button, then the discovery tool will find all the Barix devices from the local network and list this here. There you see the IP address of the devices. Okay, I have here two browser windows, one for each device, that we can configure the devices in parallel. Per default, the reflector application is enabled. Reflector is a very nice and very easy thing that makes streaming very easy. It's a commercial service, so both devices make a connection to the reflector service and then the audio is rerouted over this connection. You have not to deal with any firewalls. That is very easy, but for that we have already a couple of YouTube videos existing. And none for the standard STL, and for that reason we are doing this video here and we are configuring the devices to standard STL mode. Both devices we are configuring here to standard STL. So when the devices are back, then as next we configure the location. In the location you can set the type of the device. We have here four types available: studio encoder and transmitter decoder for unidirectional streaming, and studio encoder decoder and transmitter encoder decoder for bidirectional streaming. We will use unidirectional streaming. That will be our encoder, this device, and this device here will be our decoder. So when this is done, then we can start to configure the devices. We go to configuration. There we see the basic menu. But let's go here into network and other topics, then we can even configure the details. As first, we disable Sonic IP. Sonic IP is the IP address announcement you have probably heard. And yeah, when you have this on the antenna side and your decoder, you start your decoder, then it's announcing the IP address to your listeners. That might be not a good idea, and for that reason we disable this on both sides. Even here we go to network and we disable Sonic IP. Next is the streaming. Under streaming you configure the outgoing streaming on the encoder side, and on the decoder side the receiving socket. And here on the first line in the URL we configure the target for the stream. So usually you configure here a DNS name or the remote IP address of the Exstreamer. When you are streaming over internet, then you can you have to configure here the DNS name or the IP address of the remote router. We are here in the local network. For that reason I can configure here the direct target IP address, the IP address of the remote Exstreamer. Streaming mode I change to send always, and then we should even here configure the keep alive period. Here is important that the device which knows the IP address has to have any timing. And the other side, which doesn't have the IP address, the device here in listen mode, should have passive. It's listening for incoming data and then it can answer. So the next is audio. Under audio we can select the audio codec and the quality and the bitrate. So we are selecting here MP3. I select CBR mode and the highest audio quality. Note, when you have selected here CBR, then you have to use the MPEG bit reservoir mode use. If you have VBR selected, then you should use keep empty. As I said, I will use the highest audio quality. For that reason, even here I use the highest sampling rate. On the decoder side, under audio, I can configure only the volume level. I'm using here a higher volume level. Here under I/O and control, you can configure the I/O and relay behavior. I have connected here a local switch on my encoder, and that should trigger the relay on the decoder. And for that reason I configure here on relay mode 1 on while relay remote input on. So you can here even configure that the relay goes on when the connection drops, or when the connection stays, or when the audio an audio level is detected. So we don't do that. You can do that if you want. Under serial, you can configure a serial tunnel. For example, when you have RDS data to transmit from the studio to the antenna, then you can use the serial tunnel to transmit the RDS data from the studio to your RDS generator on the antenna side. If your device is reachable over internet, then I recommend even to set a password here. So that's already all you can configure here. Note that when you configure the I/O tunnel or the serial tunnel, then you have to have proper keep alive settings under streaming. So we are done with our configuration. For that reason I apply the settings. And we go back to the home page. So, and now the device is configured and you hear the audio. I disconnect my speaker that you can better hear me. And here on the home page, so you see the state of the connection and the device. Here is the outgoing stream. Here it reports an incoming stream. And we see the audio levels here on the input. And on the remote side, we see the audio level on the output. As I said, we have configured even the relay. When I switch now my input on the encoder side, then we should even see the relay on the transmitter, on the receiver side. I hope you liked this video, and if you have further questions, then please send a short email to support@barix.com. Thanks for watching.